Right now, we have our guest, joins me every Thursday at this time, Brandon Lewis. He is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative, which you can read every day, TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, how are you today, sir?
Glad to be on here with Chattanooga's voice of reason.
Yes. Is it catching on yet? I hope it's catching. I mean, it's the truth anyway. So, I appreciate it. So definitely wanted to talk to you about this story you guys were covering, where Hamilton County School Board is allowing district transport of registered students to polling sites. I don't think I've ever heard of a program like this before, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But give me some of the details here and what you think about it.
Well, to my knowledge, Hamilton County schools, despite a heated debate, are now going to be transporting 18-year-olds that are registered to vote on Election Day. And the thing that kind of is curious to me, there's obviously lots of conversation about this. Some were against it, some were for it. But you know, they're leaving it up to the high school principals. So it is my intention to do a Freedom of Information Act to find out with open records requests if these are going to be disparate, right? Is it going to be only principals in the blue urban centers? Are we going to be represented in the more conservative rural districts? To me, if it's not compulsory, and if the opportunity, or not compulsory, but if it's not offered in all high schools, we don't need to offer it at all. We should not allow principals to have the say on whether or not they're going to do it if we're going to allow any of them to do it.
See, this is why I have you on the show, because I didn't even think about that angle. But you're right. If we're going to do this, we need to have it available for everyone. Otherwise, let's say it's not even that they're trying to tamp down votes from Republicans or something. You're going to get claims of voter suppression if you offer it for one area and not the other area. I mean, it doesn't even matter the side. You could get it from either side in that regard.
Well, absolutely. And, board member Jill Black said, our teachers, she trusts them, they're professionals. They're not going to be unethical in trying to influence our students. Well, that's not true. We consistently report on left-leaning agendas being pushed in Hamilton County schools month after month. And so to think that in a government employee environment, which tends to lean to the left, all government employees, because they are paid for by the government, compared to the general population, tend to lean left in both administration and even at the teacher level. So I think that this is going to disparately reduce turnout, in my opinion, probably for Republicans. I think it's going to increase it for Democrats, because if somebody's in Sale Creek or Saudi Daisy and their principal says, well, we're not going to do this. Well, that's unfair to those students. And so I would encourage, if you're out there listening, and if you're a parent or a grandparent of a Hamilton County school student, and they're 18, they're voting age, if you're listening, and I imagine many of you that are engaged do take your kids and get them registered to vote and do talk to them about politics. Good parents should. If your student requests this program to be done at their high school and they are turned down, or if they are accepted, email news at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. That's news at TennesseeConservativeNews.com, because we'd like to see which ones are saying yes and which ones are saying no.
Yeah, see, my main concern about this when I heard this story is, well, it sets a weird precedent, because even beyond what schools do it and what schools don't, there's a lot of people that don't go to school that might say, well, they get free rides. How do I get a free ride? And then it becomes this whole thing that we need to provide transportation for everyone to get there and everything else. I mean, to me, it just kind of sets a weird precedent. Am I overthinking this a little bit?
I don't think you are. I mean, to me, there is no way to even-handedly do this unless every high school is going to have accessibility. You cannot have any, in my opinion, you can't have any high school principal say no to this. If they're going to say yes, it has to be done at every single school. And I think that that's the appropriate way to do it. But the other issue is, you run into things like polling locations. There are several polling locations, and in rural areas, the polling locations are further out than they are in the compressed metro area. And so are they going to take the time to take one student all the way out to the hinterlands to vote? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Brandon Lewis, he's with the Tennessee Conservative. You can read it at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Another story you had, this is from last week, but I was out last week, so I find it very interesting. Definitely wanted to talk about it, is how the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, apparently, at least according to this report, they're kind of pushing a woke climate agenda and using Tennessee taxpayer money to do it. Talk about this.
Yeah, it is amazing how consistently UTC takes what is primarily conservative taxpayer money overall at the state level to push left-leaning agendas, DEI, cult Marx opinions. I mean, it's just like the campus is full of it. I'm also involved, as an alumni advisor, or have been in the past for my fraternity, not the one that's in trouble. And the things that I hear from UTC students who are presently active about the left-leaning push from professors and administrators at that university is amazing. But they had basically hosted a climate change expert on October 8th and 9th by UTC's Environmental Studies program. And it's part of a team that travels all over the United States. Now, listen to this. Hoping to sway moderate and conservative audiences into taking the climate change agenda seriously. And so they have a very specific push, right? They're not coming to UTC to say, here are the pros for climate change. Here are the people that would say that it is more of a government control thing, and that and we're one of the cleanest nations. It's a private property grab. Because we can't impact the climate if every other third world country in China and India are polluting at 15 times our level. We cannot punish our local businesses and taxpayers trying to solve a problem when we are 1 or 3% of total emissions. And so it just kind of falls into the same situation here in town. And even Chattanooga City Council adopted the World Economic Forum's climate action plan last year.
Of course they did.
and when people complain, they're like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of words. We just need the money. We're not ever going to do it. We're never going to do it. We agree to it, but we're never going to do it." That's always their standard thing. We're just trying to go get the money, right? And we know that no strings ever come attached with free money. And so here we are. I mean, in Chattanooga, we've got crime out the yin yang. It's a mess everywhere you look. And these are the things they have the time, energy, and effort to focus on.
Well, yeah, and it's, you talk about, this is blatantly political too. I mean, the reason why they're doing it is to sway political people, to sway conservatives and Republicans. I mean, it's blatantly political. So when you say this is something they're using taxpayer dollars to push partisan politics, I don't know how you could argue against that, because it's legit about partisan politics.
Well, I don't either. And as a graduate of UTC, got my master's degree there in business administration. This is the reason I don't ever give that institution a penny. And I think if you're a conservative and you're listening to this, and if that's your alma mater as well, and for many of your listeners it is, you can't continue to support an organization like this that continually and consistently pushes a left-leaning ideology. We're essentially taking, again, conservative alumni money. We're taking conservative, by and large, taxpayer money in Tennessee. We're funneling it into these schools so that they can then manufacture Democrats that will turn Tennessee blue. And these almost all these universities are corrupt, left-leaning, and they continue to increase the tuition while the return on investment for their students gets lower and lower. I mean, I worked in the financial aid office, not to get off topic, and it was amazing how predatory it is, how these loans get pushed on these students without any information being provided to them about the difficulty of ever paying them back.
Man, unfortunately, I'm not very surprised by that. I mean, there's just so much money involved in all of that stuff. Would you say it's gotten worse in terms of them pushing a left-wing agenda than when you were in school?
Of course. I mean, It was present. It was present when I was in school. It always amazed me. I'm like, why do we have an Office of Multicultural Affairs? Why do we have separate fraternities and sororities? Why do we have all this segregation? Like it's college-sponsored segregation.
Yep.
Is essentially what it is. And they keep wanting people to not be not be racist or be, we used to be, you had to be colorblind. Now they're just like, well, even if you're colorblind, there's no way to win, right?
Yep.
And so, it's continued to get worse, Yaffee, and unless Republican lawmakers, which I don't have a whole lot of hope that they will, unless they start really cracking down on changing these institutions. We're going to see that a lot of what will probably go on negatively in Tennessee will come from within and funded by our own money.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. The only pushback I've seen has been in Florida with Governor Ron DeSantis. He has been pushing back on the universities there, but you're right. We need to do some of that here because it's our taxpayer money. Brandon Lewis, he is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Read it every day, TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, always appreciate you coming on. I know we'll talk to you again next week.
See you then, buddy.